let me just start by just welcoming everyone. Um, we're so glad everyone could join us today for Maestro for Student Support. As we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, this is our 20th anniversary for online learning and innovation. And this is our first fully virtual event for T&E Campus. And you guys are part of some of the first live events. So thank you for joining us. And I really don't need to introduce Dr. Kelly Wise or James Dye, I think, to this group, but I really tickled James last time or Jim last time by bringing out his vinyl background here to the introduction. He's still in the booth. I guess that's where he works all the time. But he and I both share an interest in high fidelity jazz records and things like that. So, and of course, Dr. Wise is a cat person, as am I. But
We're all locked up right
so
now. So
we have, and Dr. Ware here does not want to discuss anything about animals at this time. So we will just let it go and let Jim and Callie take it over, please.
go for it, Jim. You're
Good
running.
morning. Yeah, I see. Some of you were here for the last session, but a lot more other folks. So there may be some duplication of content here and the topics, just because you all use Maestro, and we did talk about some overlapping student stuff, I guess. But kind of just like to go, quick overview of Maestro. Most of us know what it does, but just to, for those of you who are new in the role, or it's been a while, we'll give a rundown of that, and then talk about your pain points and do the, like I said last time, this is a flipped classroom where you're going to teach me. That's not truly the flip thing, but you didn't do the homework ahead of time because you didn't have any, but your homework is what you've done for us for all these years. So, but I'm just going to share the screen here in a sec and kind of get going on stuff and let you know sort of the status is, where we're at with Maestro. Let me jump on here. All right, you see the login screen okay? Is that a good size?
Looks good to me. I'm not sure if everybody else is okay.
Okay.
Looks good to me.
Since y'all are campus administrators, I'll use that role to go in there. So Maestro, as you all know, is our middleware student information system. It sits between D2L Brightspace, the LMS, and the school's banner systems. And so we accept all the student files, the enrollment files from the schools, and then we mix it all up in Maestro and then send it out to D2L. So that's like the dumbed down version. Now, what we do really is every night there's a batch process that sends the group of students and the group of enrollments. We've just started as of late last week pulling in the fall enrollments, and those are in what's called add mode. So add mode is the full set of all of your school's files and students every day. We reprocess those files every day. That's why right now, and I was hoping they would be done by now, but we had a delay again. See there's a 0 on this report. It's just not, the files are almost done processing. So you'll see the numbers hopefully shortly, maybe even during this session. That would be great, wouldn't it? Of all the fall numbers here on this report. This report here is the go-to report, and I know we went over that last time, but this is, check your numbers, check your faculty, check this. But as far as students go, though, let me close this one out. You can get, and at this point in add mode, they're not enrollments, they're called course requests. That's always been kind of a confusing thing, but once we use Maestro, so a course request is like, it really is like an enrollment, but it hasn't been settled into the proper section yet. So if you have an R50, R51, R52, there's 3 sections there. Once we get about a week to 10 days before the start of a semester, we balance the classes to stabilize, we get rid of the 0 enrollment classes, and then we balance the number of enrollments in each one and randomize the students in each section. And then on top of that, we have the faculty credentialing issues now. So we have the separate system. So we go in and then we run scripts to make sure that students are not assigned a section where their school is not approving the credentials of a certain faculty member. We've addressed a lot of those issues. There's still some that happen here and there. It's a bit of a pain point and a bit of a strange one, but we try not to get on the wrong side of sacks, and we want to help our schools, be in compliance. So we added some extra processes in prior to the start of the semester and once, to make sure that we're in compliance with that. So once we switch from add mode, which is getting the full set of files every day, to the differentials, to just the new enrollments and drops going forward, that's called change mode, as you know. And then we balance the sections, and then the balanced reports are the total enrollments reports. So you can see from summer, these are pretty much done now, but these at least have numbers in them, as you know, where you can see the number enrolled per section, the total enrollments all together. You can go in and filter by your delivery institution. So no one from Memphis is here, so I'll use them. And then you can see these are all the classes that are taught by Memphis that semester, and then you can kind of just see the total enrollments as far as that goes, or you can switch it over to, I'll pick on Terry Motlow here, and you can just see, so you can filter that way. Or if you're interested in looking up a specific course, say you want to see what biology sections there are, you can filter that way. It's just really easy. If you want to see all the classes taught by a certain instructor, you can look that way. I think we have a new person now. I don't know if any of you worked with Melissa. She kind of worked behind the scenes for us at TBR. She was a BocaVox employee. BocaVox is the company that makes Maestro. Sometimes we use BocaVox and Maestro interchangeably, just like we use D2L and Brightspace interchangeably. So if you hear us say BocaVox, we really mean Maestro. If you hear us say Maestro, sometimes we mean BocaVox, but it's all, it's the product for our SIS. So anyways, Melissa was with us for about 6 years, and I guess it's been a year since she's been married, maybe a little bit more. Well, she recently got a new opportunity and moved to Knoxville and is in a new job. So they're training a new person right now who will hopefully continue with us. His name is Sean, and he's working out of the BocaVox offices in Florida. So he's definitely learning on the job right now. So we're having some issues with processes and where things get stuck. So he seems real good and accomplished. It's just new to him. So there's been delays for these past few days with getting things in place, or there's been a mistake here and there. And I see right now, this report should not have any TBDs in it right now for the summer report. I know we're pretty much done with summer, but that I don't know why it's still showing the TBDs and zeros. So something with the filtering was messed up when he changed that. So that's all a big way of going around and introducing Sean. So he'll be hopefully with us for a while, and hopefully will give us the same level of service that we've received from Melissa in the past. So anyways, if you want to export this report, there's a save button. You can save it in all different kinds of PDFs, Word file, text files. I find the most handy way is to export it as a data file, which ends up being like a CSV or a flat file. Sometimes that's easy to open up in Excel and mess with the data that way if you would, but that's always handy to have that way. And it's also good here if you want to just filter not just by one page. You can see multiple pages, so you can see the whole report just in one go there. So before you export it to a PDF, if you're going to have it locally, it's good to just change it to multiple pages. So I'll stop there for any questions. Nothing. Callie, do you have anything to add as far as that report goes? Is that something that you or your folks utilize, or is there anything there that's a pain point that we can improve upon?
Well, that works, I think, really well just for seeing an overall view as far as enrollment. But I know sometimes that the liaisons need to know about the students that are in classes and certain classes and how many are in certain classes and so forth like that. So sometimes I do direct folks to the detailed enrollments.
Right here, the detailed reports. Okay, let's take a look at that.
Yeah.
And this report, you're getting at least your student name and email address and their home school. So if you want to filter by institution, so let's pick on Brian. Oops. Do you have to put the full?
I think you just put TSU.
Oh, is it?
I think so, yeah.
There it goes. I see. I was trying to put the institution here, but got it. See? So if you wanted to see all the why is this showing in Memphis in there though? It's still, I guess these are all the courses taught by TSU, not the students from TSU. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but you can still see the students in there. I guess there are other reports where you can filter by just your students, right, Callie?
I guess they could pull like the whole thing and see everybody that's in there. Or just look. Let's see. Current semester would be report 206. They would have to use, but I don't think that's going to work now since we're in ad mode.
Yeah, it might not right now because I'm looking again.
Yeah, we'll switch over that one.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there are certain reports that at certain points are not active anymore. But 206 usually has, oh no, there we go. Still does have.
Okay, so.
Yeah, 206 is for the current semester. Yeah,
current. So looking for this, just your students, then you could do, well.
You got the equal on there, so not the approximate.
There we go.
There you go.
Change it to the wildcard filtering, and then that comes up, so. That got me. So you can, okay, if you're just looking for all your students who are still enrolled, who haven't dropped, that's a quick and easy way to do that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can, I guess, I'm not sure if they can see drop reports, but they could probably do the drop report too. I think that's 290. I think it's 290. I don't know, but okay. Yeah, there's 206, 205 is the current request for the coming semester. 206 is the current enrollments. I think 290 is the.
205 is blank right now because they're still running the numbers. So.
Yeah, that won't be active for a minute.
So I think
there's several you can play with.
290, yeah, that's it. I always forget what the number is, so I search for drop because I know drop date's one of the columns here, and it's in the description.
Yeah.
So that's the way you can find it as well. So let's run that one. This is the super detailed, right? That tells you.
Yeah.
This has the full history of drop re-enrollments. Drop graces when they drop before the start of the semester. But if you're looking for a certain student and you can kind of see, I guess you can kind of follow their history that way as well, right?
You could put in their full name and just look for.
I guess filter by term first because this is huge.
That's what I usually do.
Yeah.
Before I start downloading anything.
Yep. Now, do you download it to an Excel or do you download it to these buttons here at the bottom? They're not, the icon isn't very informative, but if you hover over it for a second, you can see that says export to Excel. This is export to CSV. I usually do that.
Everybody has their preference. I tend to do Excel, but everybody has their own preference.
Yeah, it's a personal thing, so it works either way. So
yeah.
And then when maybe I'll just do this real quick, just to show you whenever I need to use this report. And generally, it's for counting enrollments at a certain date or finding the drops before a certain date. I'll export it to CSV and I'll open it here and share with you that. And there is PII here, but you're all our student liaison, so we're good.
Yeah, it's all good.
Let me jump here. All right. So you can see if you expand these enrollment date, drop date, enrollment status, and then I will sort oops, hang on one second. There we go. I had to select all the columns. So I don't know if you can see this pop up right now. Maybe not.
Yeah. We see. I know a lot of times you guys ask about, whether who a faculty person was and what school they were at and stuff like that. You may not get the contact information for the faculty person here, but you at least got a name. You got their delivery institution where they were at, so that can be helpful as well.
So all the active ones you see here in column M, that's the enrollment status as active. Those are still enrolled for summer. But then if we're looking to see when the drops were, I sort of, they start right here. And then you can see when they were enrolled and when they were dropped. And then I, sort that going forward by date. And then all the drops that happen on each date. Now, before you really rely on this date stamp, if you send us a drop, it could be on a Friday, and it could have been before the holiday weekend, which seems like there's always a holiday weekend at the start of a semester. So we'll get a drop, and say you send it on Friday, we won't be able to process it until sometimes even the following Tuesday. And that's a pain point that I'm hoping to address with getting away from the holding tank, which I'll talk about later. But so these numbers here, sometimes there's a lag. So you drop a student on the say it was on the 3rd, and we don't get it processed. It doesn't get processed till the 7th, so it won't show up here until the 7th. That's the date it was processed, not the date that you sent it to us. So if we're trying to account for drops from a certain date, sometimes we have to adjust it according to the date there. So that's just a way that we can make sure that if our numbers don't seem to match or if something's off, that's usually what it is. It's usually because of a lag in that batch processing. So, and then there's also, like I think I mentioned earlier, this drop grace designation. This is all when they drop before the start of the semester, so there's no fee. That's dropping before there were any, fees involved. It's like the no fault drop, right? I think that's what it is. And you might have, each school might have a little different procedure, but that's a banner designation that we get there. So students are always, dropping and adding, sometimes dropping and adding from one school to another because they're switching stuff around. So that can happen, but we can sometimes track those things in here as well. So this is always, 290 is the report that, apart from the main report for course requests or enrollments on the homepage, this one is one I use all the time. So it's very very informative.
Another thing to keep in mind, well, just for we have any questions or whatever, but one of the things to keep in mind about this too is that you can have students that drop, they could drop and then they could add and then drop again and add. And so you got to kind of keep an eye on the students, like just pull out that particular student and kind of look at the dates and the times and all the stuff of the courses, because it could happen over and over again with one particular course, or they could be. How does that work, Jim, with when it comes to like a section? Because sometimes they get moved from a section to another and so forth.
Sure. Sometimes you'll get a situation where a student requests a certain faculty for a certain reason. We generally don't allow faculty teacher picking, or what would you call that? Selecting the ones that you want. I wanted this one because it'll give me an easier A, but sometimes there's an issue where we have to do that, we don't make that call. You guys do at the school. So if a student needs to get into another teacher's section for a certain reason, we can accommodate that. What we'll do, and I'll just step through the process here, that I don't know if I'm going to have to log out and log back in as an admin. So give me a second here, just so you can see. So if I go to, I'm just going to look at a section for summer. I won't go through this whole process. Summer is now listed as inactive, even though it's of course it's still the active semester. But because we're processing fall files in Maestro, summer is inactive. But it's not. It's still the ongoing semester. But once we go from change mode to add mode, we have to make the previous semester inactive in order to be able to work on the other one at the same time. So I don't know if any of you were around for the old system that we used to have that was homegrown, that was written Ahmad, if you remember that name. We had a system that was based on, believe it or not, access databases. But the advantage to that is that we had a separate database for each semester, so we could do multiple things at once there, and you didn't have to make it active or inactive. This was sort of a result now of having to do this was how Maestro works. So it's not as elegant, but we've kind of figured out how to make it work for us. So that's that. All right, well, we'll just look at accounting here. If we were to look in this accounting R50 section, there's currently 14 enrollments in R50, 16 in R51. Well, I'll just go into R51 here. And the famous Maestro spin. And then there's an enrollments tab here. I would go here and say I'm looking for, say this Jennifer fan wanted to was requested by someone to move her to another section. Well, there's a couple of options here, and I don't believe you guys don't have the ability to do this, but we can transfer to another section here, and then put her in R50 or to another section that way. And there's a process that we go through there. And then once that happens, you get a drop, you get an enrollment, and that information gets pushed to the D2L holding tank, so that happens on the D2L side as well. So anything we do here in Maestro, there's always a lag before it hits D2L because of the way that goes. Now, it's not a 24-hour lag like it is with the banner files, but it's about, the holding tank we used to just run once a day, but now it runs 4 times a day. So, morning, afternoon, later in the evening, and then overnight. So if this Maestro, if we make a change in Maestro, and we're currently have got export turned on. Right now, export is turned off because we don't want to push anything to the LMS yet. We don't want fall students to get in there yet. So on the back end, you have to have the export feature turned on in order for this to work. But once we're in that early part of the semester, the run up to the start of the semester, Maestro exports out to that holding tank every 2 hours. So so there's a 2-hour lag here, but it'll push every other hour whatever it has in the queue. So say I dropped Jennifer here from R50 and put her in R51. There's a file that contains that information that goes out and gets sucked up. It gets pushed to basically an FTP server, and then on the D2L side, on the Brightspace side, and it'll sit there for up to, I guess, up to 6 hours, I guess, because that runs. Sometimes you miss that. So the holding tank runs 4 times a day, and then it'll pick that file up and process it. Sometimes it takes 5-10 minutes once it runs, but it'll do that, and then what's in D2L will reflect what's in Maestro, and we're all good. Now, if there's an emergency or we have to get someone out of one class, now this is a rare option, but we do have it in our back pocket in case you ever need that. If you need to get a student out of a section or something needs to happen. Now, we don't generally like to make the manual moves in D2L because it can mess up between our sync between Maestro and D2L, and it gets things out of sync. But if we have to pull a student out of a course, we can manually do that in D2L, and then I'll let the system catch up. And even though Maestro would push that drop to D2L, when in reality we already pulled them out. But the holding tank will sometimes put them back in to make things in sync. But once we can make that change, it will sync itself up. Also, what we can do is we can file a ticket with Nick. Nick is our technical account manager at D2L. We can file a ticket and have those folks manually run the holding tank process. So basically, we're kicking that off as a manual run to make sure that everything gets done on the D2L side. Now we do those manual runs. Generally, we'll ask for those like right the day of classes starting, so we can get folks in there to start the first day or two sometimes to get things straightened out if there's a late one in there, or if we really need to get someone in their class and there's an issue, we can request that. So don't be afraid to ask. It's not it's not really above and beyond, because we want to make sure the students are getting in their classes and getting what they need. So there are ways to make this process speed up a bit in those cases. So maybe y'all know that, but just so you're aware, don't hesitate to ask. We can file a ticket and make this happen, and we're glad to if it's helping all the parties involved. Maybe there's some sort of an emergency where something, there's a conflict in the class between folks and we need to get someone out of there. Well, we can act on that pretty quick. So it may take a bit for it to catch up on the administrative side here, but once we get that done, we're good.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I don't think I even knew that, Jim, that was a possibility. So I'm glad you mentioned that to everybody. So please, if you do find that's a situation, especially if you got like a student that's taken a class maybe a time or two and they've had the same instructor, and they've like, no, this instructor does not work for me. I've filed a complaint, or I've had a grade appeal already, or something like that, and this is just not going to work, and you need to get them switched. Please go ahead and file a HelpSpot ticket because that'll be processed a lot quicker, especially like right as classes start. Do that at the eCampus@helpspot.com email. Just do it as an email, and that'll go faster. We can get that to Jim, and he can process that a lot quicker than if you try to do it through an email with me. So yeah, I'm glad you brought all that up. I didn't know that was a possibility. Does anybody have any questions about that or any of the reports and things like that Jim's shown so far?
Now, the other place you can look rather than digging through these reports that I know you use quite often is the student history. Isn't that right, Kelly? If you're looking for a student and you want to see, I'm going to go back to the campus administrator view to see what you can see there. Okay. So I'm clicking on students here. Promise I'm clicking on students. Spinning up here.
It's like, where's that little circle of death?
Okay. So I'm just gonna, those are active. Let's just look for, this is the enrollments column, some students who are enrolled in multiple classes. Okay. Let's just find someone here. All right, so Nikisha Allison, let's look at her. Just as an example. Now, if you might want to talk me through this, Callie, I think you always click on student history here. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Now, this is basically a log of all of the interactions that occur when we get files from your school to what happens. So you see this course request status updated, course request status updated. This is the most recent, I guess. This is showing her courses for the fall, because this was processed yesterday. I guess today's files have not been processed, but you see a running list of these course requests. So it says drop submitted, drop submitted. You really don't need to worry about that right here. It's just a file that gets run by us every day. It's just a running log there. So, but if we go back to the current semester, you can see May 17th, before the summer semester started, you can see the enrollments were created for these sections: history 2030 R50, English 3250 R50, comm 2075 R50, and then this student on June 14th dropped one class, dropped the comm class, and that happened on the 14th, and it was processed at 9. So usually you can see these are run at 9 or 10. So sometimes we're trying to get them up to speed so they process them a bit earlier. We did that yesterday, so hopefully, I don't know what the problem is today, but they should be coming up here soon. But you can sometimes identify problems by just looking through this log file. You can see what had happened, or if something didn't happen and should have. You can always look through here. So you don't have to do this. You can tell us to chase this down. We'll be glad to do it. If we'll dig through the log files and make that happen. But just so you know, if you want to try and see what's going on, sometimes you can get an idea by looking at the student history of the student and glean some information that way.
And if you can't tell, there may be some stuff behind the scenes that we may be able to find that is not evident here. So if you're like, I can't tell what's going on from this, then maybe we can dig a little deeper. Because there may be something that's not transferring, like they're supposed to have a class and it's not showing up. Then there may be a reason for that, or maybe just need to do another drop ad or whatever for the class year end.
Sometimes you'll get a student who will drop a class at one school and then add it at another school, and you can see it here. And over time, we've had them code and make accommodations for these type of collisions, but still, you think you've seen everything, but then something happens that you didn't think about, or nothing was brought. You can track those things down here, though. It's like, oh my gosh, this person, this happened here, this happened there. You won't believe, and well, Callie believes, that. Why do people name their twin children with the same first initial, Jim and John or whatever? It's like whenever it seems like that there's twins with the same date of birth, they always have the same first initial of their name. So many times, it's very, very common, and that blows up the way that we create usernames. So, we'd like to change that at some point, but that's something that all the banners are set up, and it would take a banner mod. So, like if there's A. James, Andrew James, and Alex James with the same date of birth, they're both enrolled at the same college, taking. Sometimes they try to take the same class so they can help each other out, because you know how twins are, right? You've all seen this, I'm sure. Well, sometimes that can, many times that'll cause issues, and we can iron those things out by digging into Maestro, and sometimes even we have to look into the banner files to see what's going on, but some things like that can happen. Now, things are set up now, so the first one in gets the 4-digit date of birth. The second one in would get a 5-digit, right? Would get a 1 before that. Is that right, Callie?
Yep.
And if there were triplets, then the third one would get a 2, before the date of birth. So we've run into these things. They're rare, but we've run into these things and have made accommodations for that in the system over the years. So it's kind of ugly when you look at the underbelly of this whole system, but we've got it to work. So if there's something that's not right, you always know you can reach out to us, and we can try to track these things down and see what's going on. So that's
speaking of which, Jim, just so the FYI for those who may not be aware, on that student info section under the student home, since we're on this page, and if you click on that for them, they can see on the LMS tab. You can see where down, if you scroll down, there's that piece for the.
Let's check. I go back to.
Yeah, go back. If you scroll down, you can see the username down there, but sometimes I've found that that's not always correct.
This?
Yeah, it's not always correct. I don't know why, but if you go to the LMS tab and you go to where the username's at, sometimes that will have, and I'll just use this as an example, that sometimes that will have that 1 in front of the 0914 if there was another Nikisha Allison or another N Allison out there. So with the same birthday. So you may have a N Allison 10914. So you have to kind of double check that to make sure. But if a student's having a hard time logging in, you can use this to help them, or use D2L to look them up. But this will help. But they can't do that, just to kind of cover my bases here. They can't do that until we get about maybe a week before classes. That's when they can usually log in.
Yeah.
And check their account, make sure they've got the classes that they're supposed to have, things like that. They should be showing up about that time. And they just can't access the classes before then. Before the first day, sorry. So I just want to show that to everybody so they'll know how to see that info in Maestro.
Any questions? All right. Let me go back to here. What other, I guess now we can sort of open the floor, unless you have any other common reports or things that you do Callie, that I'm not aware of, but that you use Maestro for when you're chasing things down? Any other reports that are
Well,
go-to?
I'd like to know if there are other things that the liaisons need to be able to look up or find that we haven't discussed. Maybe like finding faculty for the students or finding things like that. Maybe there are some other reports they've tried to use and not know how to use. So. See if everybody can find their unmute button.
Stop sharing for a second so I can watch people.
And Brian's like, yeah, I couldn't find it either.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you, I don't use this enough, and I'm always asking you guys questions that I can probably look up in here. I know. And I don't know what to say about that. I mean, it's just, there's a lot going on here at TSU, and just, you know.
We understand.
I'm just trying to hold on, and I don't think to use these reports and look in, and you know, sometimes I don't. I just ask Callie, and I probably could have looked it up and seen.
No,
and I
not
didn't dig into it.
You know, I understand. I don't mind everything. We just want to empower you guys to be able to do what you need to do. So that's why I want to share it.
I'm just watching and learning. I've seen a few things I can go in and do now.
Yeah. And if you're not sure, you know, about something, to say, what was that report again? You know, to do whatever. Okay. And, you know, I'm more than happy to.
I wonder if there could be a list of some kind of reports that you could send out that, hey, you could do this for this. Now that's pretty elementary. You know, that might be too basic to do, because everybody probably knows, but me, send a special one to me.
No, trust me, you're not the only one. And I think that'd be a good idea.
Kind of, just a basic thing. It doesn't have to be real long, or I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It probably helped me. It helped me a lot.
Yeah, we can absolutely put that together. Maybe even I see Mark popped up here, and put something in the knowledge books for that.
That's exactly what I was thinking. There's no reason. We probably have some things, but it's one of those topics that people don't know what they don't know, and sometimes it's a little deep to dive into if you don't have a little background. So I think we're all learning and growing together here. And if you can help us understand the resources that help you, by all means, we'll put them together. Sure enough.
Okay. All right.
I think this helped me. I have a few ways I typically go in to get information, and just today I see there's other ways to get to some things easier than I typically try to look it up. So I think Maestro has a lot more, and I don't know how the others are, but I tend to get in there and just do something real quick. And if I found a way to do it, that's the way I do it the next time, but there might be an easier way.
Yeah.
It absolutely makes sense. Yeah.
And you know, just similar thinking, Michelle, if there are a couple of things that you didn't realize, it's much easier to do it the way I learned today. If you want to share those with me, just drop me an email or Callie, and we'll kind of assemble these things, and it probably would help other users as well. So, you know, bringing that experience, that perspective of this experience. Oh, well, if I'm kind of new to this is where I struggle. So we'd love to know that. Yeah.
And everybody learns or uses a system differently. Mm-hmm. And so the way we may use it, the way we find it easy to use may not be easy for others. So just because we do it a certain way may not be the best way for everybody. So, you know, you may find a better way for you. And if we want to share that with others, say, hey, I find student information this way, or I find out, you know, the class they're in this method or whatever. It may be better for somebody else to do that method, then that'd be great. We would love to share that with others. So cool.
That was good information about the, because you said about the twin names, and, you know, I always have a lot of students that they can't get logged in, or something goofy's going on.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I could dig into these reports and probably find out an answer right away, you know, something, or what needs to be done.
It's usually a very simple solution.
Yeah.
Either they are trying at their own homeschool login page to use something or whatever, or they're using their school login information on our page, or they don't have the right username password on our page. You know, they're like, don't have, we've sent it to them a million times, but they're still not doing it right. They got that weird, like, username or whatever. So, yeah. It's just usually something very, very simple to solve the problem.
Simple for you.
Well, look back and go, man, that was so simple, you know, and it's like 6 weeks into the semester and they're like,
yeah. You're right.
I had a question. This is probably not related to student liaisons or student-related reports, but every once in a while I have a course developer who will try to ask me, do you know how many sections I'm going to have, or can you estimate how many enrollments are going to be there? So I wanted to know two questions. I kind of know how to look up the enrollments, but is there sort of a flow where I should say you need to email Colby to figure that out, or Callie? And B, like about, for example, for fall right now, when I look at enrollments, it's showing me the summer enrollments, right? So just to have an estimate, because these course developers are trying to figure out whether they're going to have more than 2 sections, which means they are not going to be the instructor, that's going to be a third instructor. And especially if they have integrations, they need to figure out, how to set up accounts and what kind of instructions they need. So about what time would the fall enrollments be visible to me, so I can kind of give them a heads up? And is it okay if I directly access those reports and just kind of give them an estimate, or should I say I need to ask Colby or Callie?
What do you think, Jim?
I think well, now that, and you probably have not been included on our emails where we're saying, okay, now we're switching to add mode, to change mode, those type of things. Maybe I need to include you on those notifications. I mean, I don't want you to blast your your email out, but we went to add mode last week, so which means we're going to start processing the fall files that we get from the school. So, and it's been a little bit unstable, and we should have numbers right now, but they're not showing up there yet. I'm going to jump up here real quick and share again. One sec. All right, so Ari, you should have access to log into Maestro anytime. In add mode, the numbers zero out overnight, and so the files get processed every day. So for between now and say 10 days prior to the start of the semester, you can usually do this. I would check in the afternoon, or ask me, or ask if the files have been processed yet. I don't mind, just reach out or shoot an email or shoot me a message in Teams or whatever. But if you log in under your account and click on this fall 21 course requests, and right now it's going to come up as a 0, I think, because I just checked it again too. But once this is done here, they'll flip the switch, and this will show the full number, and then you can see the breakdown per section of where we're currently at. Now, I think right now we're showing like 6,300 total course requests for right now, but the number will climb over the next couple of weeks as we get closer to the start of the semester. So it's always in flux. It may make sense to direct them to their distance ed directors at their school to check for that, because they're the ones who end up ultimately making the call on whether they're teaching which section and what's going on. But if you're just wanting to see, if you're a developer and kind of want to see where things stand, I don't necessarily have a problem with showing that information. Maybe the liaisons who are also, who distance ed folks who work with their faculty have a different opinion on that. I'd like to kind of know, but that information's out here. If you pull this report and it's a 0, it just means it's not ready quite yet for the day, but it should be coming up here soon. No, I saw. I was hoping I got an email from them saying it was ready, but it's not quite yet. But check, right after this meeting, as things go, it'll probably be ready, right?
Yeah, we use that. Yeah, we use that button in that report kind of for ourselves to help us kind of prioritize what things do or to expect where something will get canceled. But if there's any kind of enrollments at all, given that we have run courses even with just one student if it needed, we generally direct faculty back to, you need to double check with your distance ed director, because it's their decision if it runs or not, because they're always asking us, well, I don't want this to run, or or I want it to. And so we refer them back to it. But that we do, once the button goes up, we do use that as kind of a reference for ourselves and to say, well, right now it looks like, it could, or right now there's no enrollments, but you need to check with that because that changes. So we're always real cautionary about how we speak to faculty about those numbers. But use them for ourselves, definitely.
DE director is the first, reference, and then, just an internal check with Jim if I don't see it. But usually when we start cloning, before we start cloning, we should have those numbers. I got it now. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. And yeah, don't hesitate to reach out if you're having any issues or don't see something that looks right. So glad to help anytime.
Jim, while you're on the homepage, and I may have missed this, did you all mention the help videos that are available there?
No.
They are really general consumption, so they may not catch everything we might want to know, but I have found some interesting content, and most of it's fairly short. But if anybody was interested, Maestro has put together some information there that might get you started or just show you a little something.
Sometimes a lot of, Maestro was originally designed for K-12, so there's a lot of content in here, maybe not a lot, but that may not really apply to how we utilize it or may not fit your permissions as to what you can see here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't hurt to go in and look and see what they're talking about. There's a lot of things.
Yeah, the create a custom report. They actually went through a lot of steps to even talk about setting little colored fields and different things in your product. But I don't know. I thought it looked like it was pretty good. I am not a deep Maestro expert, so you may be right. Maybe it's stuff that it's closely apply to us. But I thought it might be helpful. And I just wanted to bring that up.
Maybe, and if you see something that's in here that hey, this might help in a certain way, always reach out. We can always work with them, and I think I talked about it on the last meeting we had. We can work on custom reports, and I'm going to try to see. They do have scheduled reporting in here to see if we can actually have some reports that are automated and sent out that are. So you don't have to go and pull it yourself. So that's. I'm not making a promise here, but it's something we're looking into to maybe we could make your job easier by automating this. And I know I'd mentioned that to John. And there may be some ways that we can do this to save time. So I am looking into that. So that's and they are always working on the product, even though we're not on the most up-to-date version of Maestro because our administrative features, we like to kind of have them locked in. We've had situations in the past where they've done an update and it broke something, and then we're like, oh, we didn't test for that, so we're pretty cautious as far as upgrades go at least to our administrative systems like this. So it's maybe you'll see something that's a newer feature that we don't have in our version yet, but always willing to take a look at it, and if it's something that can save you time and is an interesting feature, just let us know. That's a good thing to bring these up though, Mark. Thanks.
Good. Okay. Well, any other questions? We'll be glad to hear from folks. Callie, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say the same thing. So I think we're running up on an hour now, so don't want to wear people out too much, but do want to cover any other questions folks have.
Callie, not that I anticipate needing to switch a student from one section to another. That rarely happens, but just so I'll know, did I understand correctly that if a student has a real need to change after a term has already begun, does that mean that their work already completed within the one section of D2L can be moved or copied to the new section? I was thinking in the past that couldn't be done.
No, if they've already completed work in a section, it can't be moved. So they would have to manually get their work out of there or have it saved somehow. Like if they've already done a paper, for instance, they should hopefully already have that saved or done that somehow, or download or copy, screenshot, whatever discussions they may have done, things like that. That way, if they need to provide it in the other section they move to, they can, or give it to the instructor that they move to.
So, for
the
example,
grades,
go
for
ahead.
instance, will be, they won't necessarily be moved, but the grades, but we can coordinate with the instructors between the two sections for any grades to be moved over, or shared. So
Okay.
that's not.
I thought in the past that the D2L content that they had done in those grades could not be moved, so I wanted to check on that.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. That's why we try to take care of that stuff real quick at the beginning and not let it get too far, so they won't lose a lot of info.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. We really appreciate you joining us, and lots of good questions and suggestions, and maybe some others we'll collect from you afterwards. This is recorded, so if you know anybody that missed it or would like to see it, again, or any of that sort of thing, we'll have it posted in a day or two, and look forward to sharing more stuff on Maestro. So it's a good topic to be familiar with.
Yeah, please, if there are others on your campus or whatever you think could benefit from this, if there are any like advisors or anyone that else may be able to get some use of the information. I'm not sure they wouldn't necessarily use Maestro, but if it would be helpful for them to know how we process things on the campus, like for instance with the enrollments and such, that may be helpful for them to know. Feel free to share the recording with them or talk to them about it.